if I may be allowed to vent and just share some of my thoughts for the next several minutes. I'm sure this sentiment isn't unheard of and is probably shared to some degree, but today I find myself growing increasingly disillusioned with the modern internet, with each passing day spent on it garnering me a greater number of frustrations with what seems like a decay of hope and opportunity for artists than moments of peace and growth. There are times where I feel I've missed out on what in retrospect seems like a point in the past that was better suited for artists to share their work and engage with others in a way that felt more organic. And by contrast, the current state of sharing art online feels akin to casting it into the void with each post or upload, unless you're willing to bend and conform to the standard of the day, whatever that may be. It might just be me, since I tend to be a bit reclusive. But does anyone else nowadays feel unusually lonely on the internet? This year especially, I feel like I'm experiencing a noticeable uptick in feelings of isolation, as if there's no one out there at times. My corner of the internet is starting to feel like a remote island, which is fine on its own. I like my little island, but I feel like at one point I used to at least be able to see a few other islands far in the distance, and maybe I'd have a new visitor from time to time. I know this isn't entirely true for me, since I'm thankful to have a small community, and people do chat in my Discord server occasionally, and I'll receive some kind comments on this channel, and when I live stream, I might even get a few viewers, so I know there are in fact still other people somewhere out there. But despite that, for some reason, I still cannot shake this feeling that there's no one else around to connect with. And methods I used in the past to make these important connections with other artists and strangers online are becoming ineffective or nullified. I don't want this to seem like a woe is me video lamenting my performance online or anything like that, since I don't think I'm someone that's generally bothered by these things. And I also recognize that despite the complaints and struggles I have around engaging with these modern systems as someone with my kind of temperament, there are still plenty of people who are managing to make it work for them and fulfilling their goals of connecting with others through their interests. Instead, I want to formulate my observations and just how I'm reacting to them lately. I like to make videos for this channel, and one of the reasons why is because it allows me to communicate my ideas and perspectives on art for others to hear and comment on, which creates a feedback loop that encourages me to make new videos addressing the things people shared with me either directly or in the comments of the previous videos. I also like to share my art wherever I can, talk to artists, and share updates about anything I have planned. So, considering this workflow, it's kind of important for people to see the things I say and create, because this establishes a line of communication that informs the next things I share. But when the internet seems to deprioritize the opportunity for people to make these connections as easily as they could before, I have to admit that I do lose a bit of incentive to continue doing things that no one will see. It's difficult to justify spending dozens of hours creating and editing, for example, another video addressing a set of common artist concerns, if a key part in their creation is being attuned to what new or uncovered troubles artists are going through. But it's getting more challenging to source this info and make the necessary connections with people to know what's actually going on if I'm unable to get new perspectives and branch out to reach a broader group of people than the few I regularly connect with. It's also difficult to justify regularly doing new things or making announcements on different social medias and sharing what I'm up to, or taking the time to record, export, or photograph or scan, and then crop, tag, and post all the artwork I make for the sake of sharing with others, something I want to do, only for these actions to not fulfill their purpose. I don't trudge through what I find to be the grueling process of sharing my art on Instagram for the love of the game. I share because I hope to connect with people. So I ignore every fiber of my being that's screaming at me to not bother posting there because only 1% of your audience will see it, just for the chance to see a new face and make a friend or meet a new artist. But of course, These hopeful, motivating factors are becoming more rare than ever. And unfortunately, the same goes for most other platforms at this point, even those that aren't a pain to upload to, like Kara, for example. Consistently fruitless experiences on one or two platforms is kind of enough to take the wind out of trying again on a third, fourth, or fifth platform. So I just keep trying again and again on the few I do have. Something quote about insanity. YouTube is a bit different. It's the one I've liked sharing my art and my thoughts on the most so far, and it's given me the most tangible form of that connection with others I use the internet for. But even that's beginning to decline and minimize the incentive to keep at it and make new videos. It seems like the only method of making any headway in this era of decreasing connectedness is by making content, a word I stubbornly avoid using to describe my work, but is effective in keeping users engaged with the platform. But perhaps as a side effect of my stubbornness, I will continue to make videos for YouTube as long as I still enjoy creating them, and for now I do. I think long-form videos in particular are a unique format I have at my disposal for simultaneously sharing my work, my thoughts, and the lessons I've learned from art, while also having the chance for someone watching to find them helpful. I will say that despite how I feel about the struggle of using the internet today to connect with people through art, maybe I'm lucky that this only affects my will to post online and not my will to continue creating my art and finding solace in it. It's my core belief and the foundation of this channel that the art practice remains as free and pure as possible. But I'd be lying if I said it didn't affect me whatsoever. And I know for a fact that unfortunately, many others aren't doing so well either. And that, perhaps unsurprisingly, the experience of putting in a considerable amount of effort to make connections with others and maybe even build something through your art in what can sometimes feel like an internet wasteland actually does affect some artists' will to create in the first place. It doesn't help that art is already hard enough on its own, from making time for it on a regular basis or detaching your feelings of self-worth from the outcome to remembering to have fun with it even when it's hard to justify doing. I'm not a fan of the internet's tendency to only further exacerbate the already unusual set of personal challenges that come with choosing to prioritize creativity in the digital age by piling on us new, externally conditioned demands that, on the surface, seem like we should also be fulfilling in addition to our own pre-existing ones. And it's just so easy to use it and wind up in this dynamic in the first place. I think it's a lot easier to be an artist and engage with the internet than to not use it at all, because if you don't already have your circle or ways to connect with others in the real world, the internet is supposedly where everyone already is, so it only feels natural to follow suit. So then now what? Should we stop using the internet for sharing our art and just go outside and become artists in the real world? I don't know, maybe. But I'm sure just cutting everything off sounds like a big ask for a lot of people, myself included. This will be the part of the video where I offer some sound advice and maybe give actionable steps to solve the problem the video's about, but I don't really have a solution this time. In spite of all my complaints, I'm likely going to continue to use the internet for artistic reasons. Not only because my friends are here and that it sometimes admittedly does bring me a bit of joy, but also because, like I said before, I'm kind of stubborn and I have this blind faith that just maybe using the internet as an artist can still fulfill the role I originally knew it for. And maybe there's still some way of reaching new people on the other side of the screen by my sharing if I keep at it. I'm also beginning to feel a shift in my desire to stay online for reasons that aren't helpful to myself or others and connect more with the real world. Because of these recent thoughts, I've taken the time to hang up some art around my home, appreciate silence, and admire the tactile experience of putting a pencil to paper. Each moment I spend in my sketchbook, undistracted and disengaged from the pernicious incentive structures that would completely govern my creative practice if these platforms had their way, is both a reminder of what actually matters to me and a reaffirming act of protest as far as I'm concerned. So at least I have something positive to take away from this. I think it's also important to continue to push forward and invest into things you care about today in hopes of a better future, instead of just giving up because things seem grim as of now. I don't want crazy metrics or big numbers. That doesn't interest me. I just want connection. I don't want to feel like I'm one of only a couple people on the internet. If I decide I'm not interested in caving to what works under the current systems and would rather pursue my own interests in whatever way I please. So, if anyone is having similar experiences, please let us commiserate in the comments. Otherwise, thanks for listening.